But what's happening, I mean, we met in New York once when the Vietnam movement was strong. And that was a great, important for a large section of American people. What happened to that? Is that...
We've adopted a policy of national amnesia.
Yeah,
it's
but
just
that skeleton remains in the cupboard.
Of course it does.
It will pop out.
Of course it will. It's rattling around all the time. But Americans find it very difficult to admit when they lose.
Yes.
You know, that winning psychology, that horrible kind of capacity we have to always be number one, which unfortunately Richard Nixon and Johnson exploited to its fullest extent.
Yes.
And it was very bad for us psychologically, very bad as a national characteristic to keep emphasizing it. And so when you lose so humiliatedly, as we did in Vietnam, it's best to, they claim, to forget it. You are a pariah in America now if you're a Vietnam veteran, because you remind the people.
People say, yeah, it's terrible because the veterans playing such a large part, veterans from the First World War, veterans from the Second World War, and now these poor people, veterans from Korea even, now these poor people.
That's why suddenly all these movements become very important, the consciousness of women and men in analyzing what we're all talking about in terms of human liberation. Also, what President Carter's talking about in terms of human rights is involved with the analysis of the Vietnam period, because it's impossible to separate the American sense of competition from what we did in Vietnam. Because you then have to embrace the necessity to lie, the necessity to obfuscate the truth, the necessity to manipulate people's worst instincts. And that's what a film like Hearts and Minds did. And where people like the artists become extremely important in a society to reflect the truth of what some of these occurrences mean. Still, to this day, there is now only the second film being done about Vietnam, and that's Francis Ford Coppola's project. Before that, John Wayne did one about the Green Beret. But to have a war that had been going on for 10 years, never depicted in any way at all, something wrong there. The fact that the CIA has never had a picture done about it. The McCarthy period, 20 years later, is beginning to be analyzed. You see the correlation between art and politics. You cannot separate these things. And why?
I mean, after the Second World War, it took 3 years, and The Naked and the Dead came out. That showed sort of the reality of the war. And now nothing has come.
No, and I think that we're going to suffer, as long as we keep this skeleton in the closet, we're going to suffer from a sense of irreality, and history will repeat itself again until we're courageous enough to examine what indeed we allowed to happen.
As that will come. It has to come, because you can't go on like this for 10 years without it popping up again within a given period of time.
I hope so.